A single question, dressed up in a page of polite German, sealed in an envelope posted from Cambridge, arrived at the desk of the greatest living logician on the 16th of June, 1902. His 30-year project, 3 volumes of work deriving all of arithmetic from pure logic, was already at the printers. Volume 2 was being typeset as the letter arrived. The letter was short. Stripped to its bones, it asked, "Bort, does the set contain itself?" That question broke arithmetic. It broke the career of the man who received it, and it started a 100-year chain reaction that runs unbroken, precisely unresolvable, through Godel, through Turing, through every programming language you have ever used. The paradox was first stated in print by Bertrand Russell, the English logician, Cambridge philosopher, and future Nobel laureate, in his 1903 book, The Principles of Mathematics. Chapter 10 of that book is titled, simply, The Contradiction. Russell did not discover the paradox alone. At almost the same moment, and in fact 2 years earlier, Ernst Tieser Malo at Göttingen had stumbled on the same contradiction, told David Hilbert in private, and never published. Borelli-Forti had published a close cousin in 1897. Cantor had written to Dedekind about it in 1899. Russell's version was the most devastating because it used only the most ordinary sounding ingredients. 3 rules, all of them considered so obvious in 1899 that no mathematician bothered to write them down. Rule 1. A set is any collection of things, numbers, books, ideas, other sets, anything you can describe. Rule 2. For any property you can state in words, there is a set of all things with that property. This is called unrestricted comprehension. Rule 3. A set is either a member of itself or it is not. There is no third option. 3 rules, none of them controversial. Watch what happens. Consider a set that contains every set that does not contain itself. Call this set R. By Rule 2, R must exist, because does not contain itself is a property, and every property defines a set. Most sets are not members of themselves. The set of all cats is not a cat. The set of all numbers is not a number, so most sets belong in R. A few sets are members of themselves. The set of all abstract ideas is itself an abstract idea. It belongs outside R. Now we ask the only question that matters. Does R contain itself? Case 1. Suppose R does contain itself. Then R fails its own membership rule. It is a set that contains itself, so it cannot be in R. Contradiction. Case 2. Suppose R does not contain itself. Then R satisfies its own membership rule perfectly, so it must be in R. Contradiction. There is no third case. R must contain itself, and R cannot contain itself at the same time. The set both must and must not exist. The rules that built it are the rules that destroy it. So, why does this feel wrong? The answer isn't in the math. It's in what your brain assumed when it wasn't looking. You assumed Rule 2, that any property defines a set. It is the most transparent feeling assumption in all of mathematics. We do it every time we use a word, red things, prime numbers, sets that do not contain themselves. They all sound like the same kind of move. But the third move is different. The first 2 describe properties of things that already exist outside the describing. Red things were red before you named them. Prime numbers were prime before you wrote the definition. The third describes a property of sets, in terms of their own membership. It folds the rule back through the object the rule is defining. Your brain was built to describe antelope and tools, things that sit outside the describing. It was not built for descriptions that include themselves in their own domain. Russell came to call this the vicious circle principle. Whatever involves all of a collection must not be one of the collection. If a definition needs to look at everything, including itself, to know what it means, the definition does not name a single thing. It names nothing. In the language of set theory, you cannot, in general, collect all things with a given property into a set. You can only separate things out of a set that already exists. That is the formal lesson. It is also the moment mathematics stopped pretending it could describe itself from the inside. The first person to hear the paradox in its full form was not a student. It was Gottlob Frege, the German logician from the University of Jena, who had spent 30 years deriving arithmetic from pure logic. Russell's letter reached Frege on the 16th of June, 1902, just as Frege's Basic Laws of Arithmetic, Volume 2, was going to press. Frege replied 6 days later. He accepted the contradiction. He did not try to evade it. He could not stop the press. He added, at the last possible moment, an appendix to Volume 2. In that appendix, he wrote a single sentence that logicians still quote. Hardly anything more unfortunate can befall a scientific writer than to have the foundations of a finished work suddenly shaken. Frege proposed a repair. 40 years later, the Polish logician Lech Niewski, and then Quine, and then Geach, proved that Frege's repair collapses the universe to at most one object. His fix did not save arithmetic. It emptied the world. Frege lived another 22 years. He published almost nothing. He abandoned logicism entirely. His biographer, Dummett, describes him in his last years as a broken, disillusioned, and bitter man. Two real solutions arrived in 1908. Russell's own theory of types banned any definition that referred to itself. Ernst Tessier-Malot, who had found the paradox 2 years before Russell and kept it silent, built a new system of axioms that allowed only restricted comprehension. Extended by Frenkel and Skoh Lem in the 20s, it became ZFC, the foundation on which virtually all modern mathematics now stands. Russell's paradox is a small machine. 3 rules, 1 question, 1 contradiction. But the shape of the machine is something bigger. It is the shape of every system that is rich enough to describe itself, and then is asked to do so. In 1931, Kurt Godel used exactly this shape to prove that arithmetic contains true statements it cannot prove. He cited Russell's form of self-reference as the inspiration. He named his paper after Principia Mathematica, Russell and Whitehead's work. In a footnote, Godel wrote that the analogy with the liar paradox was obvious to the eye. 5 years later, in 1936, Alan Turing used the same shape again to prove that no algorithm can decide, in general, whether another algorithm will ever halt. Same shape, different consequence, different century. ZFC contains Russell's paradox, the way a blast door contains an explosion. The specific contradiction cannot be built inside the system, but nothing ZFC can do removes the deeper fact that Russell exposed. Any formal system large enough to describe arithmetic can describe itself. Any system that can describe itself contains statements it cannot settle. In every programming language that passes a type through a type, in every proof assistant that verifies its own proofs, in every operating system that partitions user space from kernel space, Russell's stratification is doing quiet work. The barber is still guarding the door. Russell's paradox didn't destroy mathematics. It forced mathematics to admit that not every collection you can describe is a thing. Some descriptions point to nothing. Some questions have no answer, not because we do not yet know, but because the question itself is malformed. Mathematics learned to ask better questions. The rest of us are still catching up. A sealed envelope arrived on a desk in 1902. A man in Jena opened it and read 5 words dressed up in polite German. Within a week, the foundations of arithmetic had shifted, and they have not fully settled since. Every week, another paradox, another impossible idea that turns out to be true. Subscribe. The next one might break something you didn't